And we're live. And Allison still hasn't shaved. I don't know what's going on here. All right. Tonight, as a guest host, we have Brad Skistimus of 5 Times August. And I believe you named yourself 5 Times August because nobody can say the name Skistimus.
Not on their first try, that's for sure. I've come to find out. Ever since elementary school, it was like roll call. It was like skismus. There's always something, or like a letter was cut off on the roll call sheet. That was usually what happened. Is it was skistama because the S was cut off. I had too many letters for the roll call sheet. But
and you didn't say rhymes with Christmas?
I have used that many times over the years. But you got it down now, so thank you.
Awesome. Hey, it's a weird thing. I really want to get people's names right because it's like just that little level of respect. I mean, I'm sure I'll say something really stupid later, but if I can start out by being respectful, then later maybe I'll earn forgiveness.
Sure.
So how are you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm dealing with the world, but I'm also raising a family, so I'm in the thick of all of the things at the same time. So it's crazy.
Well, good. I know you've been traveling around doing stuff. Now, I pulled Brad into this, so he's completely unprepared, doesn't know what's going to happen.
Oh no.
So the theme of it is news with booze. Booze is not required. So whatever you're drinking, you're drinking. It could be coffee, it could be beer, it could be whatever. I am drinking Raging Bitch, and you're drinking Ghostbusters. So very cool. This is 2 weeks in a row I've had a musician. I had Akira the Dawn last week on, and he was drinking aqua because he's having to live in Mexico due to immigration problems.
Wow.
Yeah, this is our country right now. Here's our stupidness. He has a green card or a visa for an alien of extraordinarily achievement or whatever. It's like, one of those H-1Bs, but, for like being a really heightened, he's a talent, blah, 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 blah. He has it. He was granted it, but you can't just say, okay, I've got it and put it up. You have to actually leave the country and then show it and come back in. But all the embassies are shut down due to COVID until 2022. Yeah. So he has to cool his heels in an Airbnb in Mexico. He had to literally abandon his house, everything, his whole setup in Texas, and go to Mexico just so he could come back in on the visa he's already been granted.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've seen his videos. I've been like, where is this dude? Because he does lives or little videos every now and then, and I'm like, where is this guy at? And he's got a family, right?
Yeah, his wife and son. Yeah.
Are they with him?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, at least he's got his family with him. But that's ridiculous.
I mean,
leave
the more
and then come back.
Right. Oh, we got you. We got your green card. You got your visa. Good job.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So I'm saying, no, you need to get out.
Yeah. No, I'm here now. It's a Seinfeld episode. It's a real life Seinfeld episode. It's like, but I'm here right now. I gotta go. Like it's like how far away does he just have to put his foot out of the country and then come back?
I don't know. Well, that's a whole wet foot, dry foot. But the thing is that we were telling him, why don't you just come in with all the others?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Then they won't worry about vaccine or anything.
Right.
Oh shit! I said the V word. Okay. Bradley does not know the rules yet, so there are certain words you cannot say on YouTube. So we have other words to fill in, like Fauci juice. Is when we're referring to beneficial, nutritious items that we can inject into our bodies. And it is especially supposedly helpful to combat the beer bug. Both those terms I pulled from Legal Mindset, friend of the show. But yes, what we are in essence doing now on YouTube is acting like a low-tier drug dealer on the phone. Because we can't say, hey, bring a kilo of cocaine to bring an 8 ball of cocaine to my house. We're having to say, I'll eat like a dozen donuts, please. Or whatever code it is. So thank you, YouTube. Can't talk. Can't do
Isn't that
anything.
insane? That's the most insane thing ever. Like, how can you say that our freedom of speech is not under attack when we're all speaking in code across every social media platform? Like, people are on. I started seeing the craziest thing. Somebody was writing, "Dance with Maxine." They were like, "Do you dance with Maxine?" You know, like as a way of saying, "Did you get the?" And like, there's a whole code of language to speak in order to, because if you post something on like Facebook, the algorithm will feed it in whatever, based on how you phrase things or word things, and like. You got to speak in code if you want more people to see it. And it's just insane. It's insanity. And I don't understand how people are looking past it. They don't want to acknowledge what has happened. The fact that you can't say even one word, the V word. You can't
no,
say
worse
it.
than that is the I word.
Or the
I word, I don't even have coded. That one's so evil.
Well, you
that one is so bad. The horse deworming medicine is what they like to call it.
What they want you to call it. Okay.
Yeah.
Horse dewormer.
Yeah, horse dewormer is so badly in the news. Oh, by the way, hot tip, back to Akira again. He refers to the beer bug as the Tom Hanks disease, which is kind of funny because it actually lands on two levels if you've ever read any conspiracy theories for the past 10 years. Because you're like, Tom Hanks disease, which one?
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he was the first one to come out, right? I got the thing, and back in what
in Greece.
That? In Greece, it was like March
yes,
or
because
April
he's a Greek citizen now, a Greek citizen now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's and that's a good defense against the beer bug.
Right, exactly. The crazy thing is that I know what we're talking about, like that we can speak and have this language, and we can be like, yeah, exactly.
Actually, on that note, because I have to be a slut and plug. Good news is on Locals, and by the way, Brad is also on Locals, 5timesaugust.locals.com.
Yes, very.
And I'm
very
unstructured.locals.com. Well, I mean, it always starts small.
Yeah.
And I have a new show with Nate the Lawyer, and it is literally no holds barred, as in I can say all the words that I don't say on here, and we do. And the great thing about Nate is we argue all the time. We'll get on the phone and we'll argue about everything. So Nate is quite often contrarian against what I'm doing, but we're friends and we laugh. It's this really unique situation, Brad. Imagine this. There was a time in history where people would go and they would argue with each other, but they would still be friends.
This sounds like
centuries
ago.
Yes, it was literally that Rod Serling himself came out and introduced it because it has been that long. He died in like 1975, so yes, it was obviously pre-certain. No,
no, it's crazy. I've been getting so nostalgic for 2019. Anything prior to COVID era, like I'm starting to go like, oh god, 2019 wasn't that bad. 2018
back in. You're saying back in. Back in a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, when it wasn't even a blip in our minds, and now it's every single day, all day, every second. It's got to be something. It's just too much. It's very draining for sure.
Well, the guy with the Golden Girls shirt obviously believes in a little bit of history, and I can't say anything with the Joy Division Unknown Pleasures shirt. So I'm preceding even that, sliding under on time.
That's okay. I've got plenty of nostalgia back here from my childhood hanging up. I'm very nerdy that way.
Which is awesome.
Good times. Those were good times.
I know. I was griping at the time, but then it's like looking back. Yeah. Oh my God. Then I'm like, I'm old. I'm officially old.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with that. You should embrace that. Embrace getting old. I'm embracing getting to be older and kind of crankier a little bit and set in my ways. Like I found myself like in the last 5 years going like, oh, I'm kind of just okay with just being where I'm at, mentally and in what I got to have growing up and stuff. It's like I don't need any new music. I don't need any new TV shows. I got all the good stuff. I'll just rewatch them all. That's kind of
What's
where I'm at.
funny is it used to be the whole thing of complaining about how bad it was when we were young. And now I'm going, oh man, you guys are screwed.
Yeah.
We had this thing called freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now
it's freedom. Screw your freedom. That was my
God. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Says he who has can't say another word. Says he who has a World War II veteran father who worked for, they were called brown shirts. We'll just say that. And his father was a brown shirt.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pick on him for his father because you can't help who your father is, obviously.
Right.
But the problem is that when your statements rhyme what your father was representing, it's hard to not kind of draw comparisons saying, okay, apples and trees and how far did you fall?
Right.
But on that note, I have good news, Brad.
Yeah.
And okay, here's my one Twitch Twitch watcher. Yes, you probably are the only person watching Palmetto Paratrooper on Twitch, but I thank you. I thank you very much for my single Twitch presence. I appreciate anybody anywhere. Thank you so much. Right. But Brad, you and I deal with sound, music, a little bit of video, and you deal with cables.
Yeah.
And I know that secretly has given you shame in your heart. I know I have felt it, because when you have a one cable that, let's say, is driving a signal, and you have another cable that is picking up the signal, the terminology on this, shall we say, it's problematic. And unfortunately, we have people who are looking into it, and somehow, you see, our cables are both racist and sexist. And I mean, this is the problem, Brad. You're a musician and you're dealing with cables, and I'm very scared that it has seeped into your conscience.
Yeah.
So we need to worry about our slables, slables. That's a new word. Our cables being called master and slave.
Oh,
and male and female, because let's be honest here, there are all kinds of connections. Are we going to limit ourselves to only 2 connections?
No, we're gonna transition into a spectrum of cables.
Yes,
you see. Yeah,
I think so. Always ending with a plus.
I'll tell you what. I've been on stage for 20 years, and not one show has gone by where I haven't been ashamed of using male and female plugs, master and slave cables. Yeah. Not one show ever have I not thought about it.
Are you glad though? I mean,
I'm glad that we can move forward now. Yeah. It's time we talk about male and female cables is the title of is the headline that it should read on vice.com or whatever. It's time to talk about it.
Yes.
It's always time to talk about it.
Preach it, brother. Absolutely. I mean, this has been, oh my God, it's such a travesty. And I have heard about this, in my circles, in my little nerdy circle. Oh, nerd. Is that a hate term now? I don't know. I'm referring to myself though. So, okay. In my insulated spectrum-y circles, is that the term now? Yes.
You be you, Eric. It's okay.
Oh, thank you.
You're in a safe space right now.
Whew.
Except for the fact that it's YouTube.
Well, there is that. And I have not gone yellow. Hold on. Have I got it yet?
Somebody said
Anyone?
way quick, but we already went yellow. I saw
Nope.
earlier.
No, it's an assumption. People are waiting
Oh,
for it. They're waiting for it because
okay.
we have James Esparza, who is in here. Oh, here we go. And James is pointing out even more of our hate. Two men wearing black shirts and one a dark hate. Yes, I agree. I mean, Joy Division. That this is obviously a hate symbol. I mean, it's I forgot what it was. EEG, I think that they picked up.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the Golden Girls though and thought about how problematic they are? Like,
there's only one alive. That's a problematic thing right there. So you're actually celebrating death because all of them have passed on except for one, and it's almost like you're wishing for the last one to pass on. So yeah, I think there's a problem.
Listen, you can't say that because if something happens to Betty White, people are going to track down this episode and blame me, and I'll be all over Twitter tomorrow. My career is over.
Celebrate Betty White. I choose not to be ageist. I'm at least a decade older than you, so I am very sensitive to the I'm not going to say elderly. That might offend somebody. So I had a friend back in the Army who cracked me up. He was so sensitive about his height, and he was kind of right in a weird way. But he was like, "Do people look at you and say how tall you are?" No. They always, if they meet me, they say, "How short are you?" He's like, "Well, why do you say that?" And it's like, I'm not sure. I'm just not as tall. So when I'm discussing my age, I'll just say I'm not as old.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. I wish people would not be so sensitive about just every little nook and cranny of life right now. I talked about this on our show a few weeks ago, where I was talking about how like life is so good. This might be a good place to do this analogy since it's news with booze, but I had compared it to alcohol or a beer. Like if you have like pretend my water here is a beer, but like life is
be religious, turn it to wine. No.
This is wine now. But pretend this is all that's good and great about our life right now. But like if you have a beer, we've got all this frothy stuff on top, and that is all of the crap that we're going through right now, that we're focusing on, that I should say. Like underneath the froth is like the best time ever to be alive in all of humanity, the most convenient, laziest, like most successful time to be alive. We have access to all this information, or we should have access to all this information. But like we're focusing on this froth, and we're just like male and female cords and cables. Oh my gosh. Like it's unbelievably obnoxious that it's like, just skim it off right underneath it. I swear, if you let it happen, this could be the best time to be alive.
Okay, that's Steven Pinker's philosophy, which I agree with too. This is like the safest, healthiest time in all of world history. But then there's a term, and now this is almost getting to where it's a meme or old too, but first world problems, I think is still relevant. It's like if you go to anywhere poverty stricken, they tend to be happier. And why? Because they're not worried about anything other than, hey, are you okay? Did you get home okay? Did you get here? Did your work get done? I love you. You're my relative. We're here. We're having joy in this moment. Not, did I get this? Did I get that? Did I get this? Did I get that? And really, we're destroying ourselves on dealing with that. And it's kind of funny because I'd say our mentality is not that different than being in a prison. Because in a prison, a pack of cigarettes is worth someone's life. The littlest thing is so important because you have nothing else. So my thought is that what you were describing right there is like, your mentality is so closed off. You're living in your own hell, your own prison of mind, to where this little minor thing is suddenly of all importance. Never mind, I could quote Louis C.K., but he's canceled, right? But he's the one who talked about people complaining about flying, but you have the miracle of being on a freaking tube in the sky going across. Never mind his personal life. Because we can't talk about it. It's canceled. So, and that drives me crazy too. So anytime somebody's going to point that out, well then, hunt them down, hunt down that messenger.
Yeah, somebody had brought up that clip of Louis C.K., which is an outstanding clip because it's such a valid point. Like, what a great time to be alive. And then right underneath it, of course, on Twitter, somebody was like, "You're going to share Louis C.K.? Don't you know what, you know?" And it's like, but it doesn't take away from the point of what he's saying. Listen
and
to
also, he wasn't saying he did that on the airplane.
All right.
He is able to.
Yeah.
So they're right. If he was saying that he did his personal peccadillos on the airplane, then I would have a problem. But he didn't say that.
No.
He was just talking about the miracle of flight. So can we just get back with the Wright brothers and chill?
Right. Yeah. Let's do it.
Preaching is a bicycle shop. All right. So on to a serious note, or semi, or whatever. And dude, you know, hey, you're the comic relief. No,
we'll see.
And while we're on something like Sirhan. Now this has actual significance to me and the channel. He has been recommended for parole for the assassination of Robert Kennedy, or Robert F. Kennedy. And my partner, Mark Grobert, and another series of shows that I do, America's Untold Stories, was a speaker at the parole hearing, and actually was the last speaker at that parole hearing. And this Friday, we were going to be going over everything with the parole hearing. So I really hope people consider tuning in. I think that's it's going to be fantastic. And I find it just crazy and remarkable that I stumble across a person who stumbles across, or he calls himself the Forrest Gump of pop culture. And, you know, he writes with Oliver Stone and things like that. So here I am. I'm a goofy podcaster, YouTuber in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I just get along with, you know, some crazy people and Brad. And
I can be crazy.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, actually, you're more than normal. You're pulling it to goodness now. And I'm mixed up now, one step removed from actual world history. I mean, the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy was monumental. I mean, it's like, wow. I'm like, how in God's, and that's this whole crazy world that we live in. And it kind of does give me hope in a weird way, because it's like, well, you know, anything can happen. And I love history, and I love our country, and I love, you know, a lot of things that's going on, and the idea of being tied to it, even tangentially. It's not like I was in the parole hearing or I met him or anything else, but being one step removed is remarkable. And the whole story, the whole case is astounding. And yes, Second Horizon, Bobby would have pinned POTUS. Yes, I have no doubt about that. LBJ dropped out as soon as he announced. There was nobody else there. JFK had been assassinated, so absolutely, I think he would have been. You know, he's extraordinarily popular, and you know, the whole groundswell, everything was flipping on it. So the weird thing is, and this is not a spoiler alert because we already talked about it in part one with Sirhan. It is very, 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 very likely that Sirhan did not actually kill Robert F. Kennedy. There was two people. And I mean, it's to the point where it's like, you know, physically impossible for him to have done it, type of thing. And the person who Mark Robert is speaking for is Paul Schrade, who Sirhan actually did shoot in the head, who wanted him out. So anyway, all this is coming up Friday. Continuing on with Mark Robert. Everybody check it out. I think I've pitched that one pretty hard.
Isn't that incredible that, like, there's so many things in history where we still don't know or have a definitive answer on what happened. Like there's every single big event is up for debate. There's, even
Yes.
even Titanic, you go back and you start you can watch every single documentary on the Titanic, but then like there's still room for debate. And we just don't know. And then you mentioned RFK, there's JFK, there's even as recent as the Las Vegas shooting, even as recent as January 6th. So like it's and we never get an answer, and it just leaves this you wonder why people don't trust the media or the government or anything. We never got an answer about anything. We're just sort of keep rolling along and keep, on to the next one, because now things move so fast that you can't keep up with it, like it's on to the next thing. We had, look at the last year, for crying out loud, it went from COVID to George Floyd to the election to, back to COVID to January 6th to back to COVID, and it just it's an endless roll of information to analyze. Meantime, we're being fed, what we're supposed to put in the history books without being able to question it. And that's the dangerous thing. But I'm just
I totally agree. No, I totally agree. And the problem too, though, is that let's just say I kind of follow some of these rabbit holes. I mean, I have a 3-part CIA series with Mark Robert. I just had on John Potash, tying CIA to Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain, the death of Tupac Shakur, the FBI involved, CIA spiking, John Lennon's drink with LSD. And you look at MK Ultra and you look but there's a certain point you're like, okay, where's the limit? Because that there's some shenanigans going on here and there. And then okay, everybody I've ever met and everybody's around me, how competent are they really in keeping a conspiracy? And it's if everybody wasn't lying so much or doing so many things, you might actually get to the bottom of it, because you can kind of go down a path where you're like, okay, everything's an inside job and it's all black hats and all, all false flags and nothing is right. And I think there's a balance in there somewhere, like I believe in something called Hanlon's razor. Have you ever heard of that? It's essentially never ascribe to malice that which can be explained by stupidity. And I really have always believed in that most cover-ups are not a grand plot. They're really a screw up. Like, this sergeant does such and such, and it causes a calamity. Now, fine. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to hang the sergeant out to dry? Well, obviously you should. He screwed up, right? But then he's your sergeant. You're the captain. And so that's your command now, and you are responsible for what this idiot just did. So what are your choices? Okay, you put him out and, fall on the sword yourself, because it did. And by the way, not only you fall on the sword, but so does your boss and their boss and up. Or do you say, nothing to see here, folks?
Right.
And you tell a couple other people, like, how many times have you seen that the cover up is what they snag people in, not the actual thing? And then when you look at the actual thing, like Watergate brought down a president. Do you know what Watergate really was? It was a little black box mission of trying to sneak into the Democrat Party headquarters and see what intel they had. Stuff that was going on all the time. They got caught because the dumbasses had put tape on the door. So then when they wanted to go out, the door would, open on the exit. I'm sure you've seen that before in a stairwell, just taping that up so then the door won't latch. Anyway, that's how they got caught. So it's really, really hard for me. And I'm like, just tell me everything so I can kind of get a more of a perspective, because if I don't know what something is, and this is the criticism I have with all the government right now, is that, and it's even worse because they've got Silicon Valley and everybody else censoring every word, every breath, everything that's going on. So if nobody can speak against your narrative, I know there's another story. So
Right.
now I have to use my imagination, and my imagination is much more vivid than maybe the truth. But because you bury it and you work so hard to bury it and you do everything in your power to, like, I'll probably get a little infographic underneath this video. I get under a lot. It's almost a badge of honor anymore, right? It's like, well, okay, there's a truth teller. He's got enough Wikipedia entries under his tell, saying, okay, he must be saying something true, because they're constantly flagging and saying that here. By the way, earlier I said problematic, right? So anytime you hear the word problematic, you know that there's a lie or a load of bullshit coming behind it. I'll give you the other one that drives me up a tree. Do you wonder if such and such happened? It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Anytime you see it's complicated, it's okay. Now here comes a narrative wheelbarrow of bullshit again to try to spew forth a message that, as you read it, will be more convoluted and confusing than everything you've ever seen.
Yeah. Like mine is the one that I see on Facebook is partly false.
Oh, or partly true.
Yeah. Partly false, mostly true. How much false? Like I looked at, what was it? I shared a video on Facebook that was a 16-minute thing. Very informative, I thought. Now, I shared it. It got flagged, partly false. I went and I was like, well, let's see what's false about this. Let's see if they even tell us what is true about it. No, there is a 16-minute video, whole bunch of facts. Who was the fact checker on? I can't remember, but the article was like, we're only focusing on 5 of the messages of the video, and this is why they're false. And it's like, well, there's a lot more than 5 points in this video to cover, but you're doing the bare minimum. So
it's called cherry picking.
Yeah. But it set me off. It's getting to a point now where you see it and it's just like it's stepping in dog crap or something, and you're just like, oh, not again. And you get, you just got it. It's like the same kind of frustration. But that's what's happening right now.
Well, what's exhausting is you'll read fact checkers. First off, I have an issue with fact checkers, because who's fact checking the fact checkers?
Right.
Obviously nobody.
Yeah.
And they're just bullshit. They're a narrative that's hired to push something. But if you read the fact checks, you will literally read false. But then when you read paragraph 4, because there's not going to be more than 5, it literally will contradict and point out that it's actually true. The thing they just said was false.
Yeah.
In the same piece. And by the way, it's that way with every article. How many times have you seen a headline and you read the article, and deep in the article, here's the message that's exactly opposite of the headline? And this drives me up a tree, because nobody has time. And I'm not blaming people who don't have time. My old boss would work 60, 70 hours a week. Did he have time to sit there and go, oh, let me look at my trusted newspaper that I've read my whole life or whatever. And, they're generally reliable and nobody's perfect, blah, 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 blah. But overall, they're trying to, no, he doesn't have time for that. And they know that. So they're getting so bold as to just lying on their face. And even in the same article, and I do know that some of it could be the one person writes the article, somebody else writes a headline. But it doesn't really matter, because the entire message, if you can't believe in it, then what do you have? But there is a bright side to that. Not everything is bad. I have a lot of lawyers on my channel. For some reason, I'm friends with lawyers. Maybe that says something about me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's coming down. But the one good thing is that lawyers were always the bottom. I mean, Shakespeare, kill all lawyers, right? Lawyers are the bottom. Like, nobody's worse. Not anymore. Journalists have managed to slide under lawyers to be in the bottom of the pigsty. So good there.
Yeah.
Lawyers are now more honorable.
Now, is a fact checker to me is not a journalist, and I think they're
No.
the bottom rung of the whole entire thing because like
Yeah,
we have
okay.
the whole argument of the whole thing is you know, you're not a doctor. How could you say that, we're having this
Oh,
big
but hold on. Let's specify. You're not a doctor, right? Now, let's say you are a doctor. You're not a virologist.
right.
See,
You're
so
not
it's like we got a sliding
yeah.
scale on that. I just got to
Yeah.
point that out.
Yeah. But yeah, and there's a whole spectrum of medical professionals out there. And but the idea that we're pointing this finger back and forth with these online debates where you're like, you're not this and you're not that, but the person
Mhm.
yelling at you, like somebody asked me the other day, they go, "When did you get your such and such medical degree?" I'm like, "When did you get yours?" And they never
Mhm.
responded because they don't have it.
I trust the science, Brad.
But somewhere, yeah, deep down within the nooks and crannies of the internet, you can find a fact checker who will tell you or back up what you believe already, and you can
Sure.
say that. But who is the fact checker? When did they get their medical degree? So it's just this continuous cycle of insanity.
Yep. And KM just brought up, and yes, whenever there's a conflict between Fauci and Rand Paul is a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, but he is not head. So it's like, oh no, but he's not the right one. But then
Hmm.
you'll quote every other one. And by the way, you bastards, you quote Bill Nye, the science guy, who is a joke and not a
Right.
scientist of any kind. So
Right.
he's not I mean, he's kind of like John Stewart when he said truthiness.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that's Bill Nye. So
That's a whole
and
other ironic thing is listen to the experts, trust the science. Also, listen to Alyssa Milano. Yeah, like they'll just pick out like, some influencer on TikTok or whatever, or some
sure.
celebrity, and it's like, but here's our celebrity. I saw Harrison Ford was speaking at a
Oh God,
event
the poor dude's
recently.
he's too old.
Yeah, well, it's Indiana Jones, so you got to listen to him. He was speaking at a climate change thing or something, and I'm like, why do you get Harrison Ford on? I thought the whole thing was listen to the experts and the scientists on this stuff, but then you usher out celebrities every time you think that that's not working, and you're like, here's
Oh yeah.
celebrities singing Imagine, to
Oh
feed
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
narrative, and you're just like, what? I see it all the time because I'm in the entertainment industry, so I'm like, what are you doing? Like, they're not saying anything, but it's crazy.
Oh no, dude. And then as soon as you bring up a celebrity,
Mhm.
and be honest, the conservatives have to dig a little further, so it takes a while. Um, and then when
Mhm.
they do, they're like, "Well, Kid Rock's a moron."
Oh, yeah. He's
You
washed
know?
up, or they dog on their career or something, and it's such an easy route to
Uh,
say, "Oh, I haven't watched them," like, I could do that with Alyssa Milano and be like, "Well, I haven't watched you since the 1980s on Who's the Boss, so what do you know?" But that
oh
on
sure.
that side of the aisle, it's a valid influencer for some reason because she's got a TikTok account and she makes insane videos and she has that crazy look in her eyes. It's crazy.
Right, and somebody brought up here too, talking in the chat, the SJWs are declaring war on Eric Clapton because Eric Clapton and Van Morrison
Mhm,
have, dared to come out, and Eric Clapton made kind of some unfortunate comments in the 70s during a concert. I don't know
mhm,
the full context. It sounded bad when I heard it, but whatever.
mhm,
So
mhm,
it's like, oh Jesus, it's kind of like the old Twitter feed. It's like dig into that Twitter feed, find it.
mhm.
Hey, was it David Brock? What, go find something quickly. Media matters. Go dig, go dig, go dig. So, Eric Clapton obviously is an out of touch old man who wasn't ever really that talented anyway.
Yeah, I got dogged on Twitter the other day because I had commented on his new video and I had said something about, I'm writing these songs alongside with you or something like that. Basically saying these types of songs. Now,
Mhm.
some people read it. Maybe it was, you do these tweets and you don't. Sometimes you just tweet it, and you think it'll just get buried, or I'm just. This one got picked up by the
Oh, yeah.
haters, the Eric Clapton haters, and they thought that I wrote his new song. And they were like, "Oh," they were like, "Imagine taking credit for Eric Clapton's new song." I'm like, first of all, if I wrote a song for Eric Clapton, I'd be
Oh, I'd be writing.
banking
Yeah.
right now. Like, that would be awesome. I wouldn't give a crap what you have to say, but like, but then I like, so all these people, then they come to my page and they start listening to my music and analyzing my music, and then I'm on there, and sometimes, you get in these little Twitter scuffles, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, you guys are mad over a song. Like, just to be clear, this all started because you're mad at Eric Clapton, who for releasing a song that you think I wrote that I didn't write. That now you're mad at me for writing the songs that I'm writing. Do you see how ridiculous this you have nothing to do right now with your time? And I admittedly had nothing to do because I'm sitting there responding back to these people too.
Feeding the
But
trolls.
but yeah, but it's like I talked about it the other. I completely 100% back up Eric Clapton and Van Morrison and these
Sure.
guys, because they're the only ones doing it. I said it the other
Mhm.
day. Like, the idea of 1960s legendary artist from the 1960s speaks out against the man. That should be a headline we see almost every day. But it turns out
Mhm.
after 50 years, the only two that had the guts to do it were Eric Clapton and Van Morrison. And
That's
like
because
all,
the people who were speaking against him out against the man are the man.
yeah.
They won. They won the
Hmm.
culture war.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever read Andrew Breitbart.
Hmm.
If you haven't, he died in 2011. It's just scary to think how long ago it was. But he wrote "Politics is downstream of culture," and he is correct.
Hmm.
That, I think, is one of the most important lines. But if you ever get a chance, just read "Righteous Indignation." It still holds up even now. He's the guy who created both Huffington Post
Hmm.
and Breitbart, so
Hmm.
he has range.
Hmm.
Kind of
Yeah.
like Robert Barnes, who defended both. Well, here's another name you can't say: AJ, also known as Alex Jones,
Hmm.
and he also defended Ralph Nader. Can't get too different than those guys, but those are the people I like, that
Hmm.
who are so worried about free speech and doing the right thing, and the little guy, they don't care who they are or where they are. They're
Hmm.
going to be on both sides of it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
in the sense of Clapton, yeah, all of his peers, who are, they're like, oh, screw you, screw that. Well, at that time, conservatives, right wing was really pretty oppressive. It was like a little bit like, oh, we don't like your type, cut your hair, da da da. All
Hmm.
that was true, but then they won. And
Hmm.
the problem is that when they won, just like anybody else, I bet you if the right or whomever takes control, they'll get out of hand too. They want to spike the football. They want to just keep going, and then you start to squash the other narrative,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's what's happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Eric Clapton. He got the shot. He had a
Mhm.
reaction. He spoke out. He did an interview, and then
Yep.
he's labeled anti-vax. And that's the commitment that people have been programmed. They don't even want to hear. They don't even want to hear the other side of the argument. But yeah, you've got Eric Clapton. Van Morrison has just released like an album with several cool
Mhm.
songs on it that I think. And underneath them, there's really nobody in the industry until you reach the independent guys. There's
You
rappers
and
that are
Tom
doing it.
McDonald.
Me and Tom McDonald, there's some other there's a good rap community. Rappers are all
Well,
about
rappers were free speech at one point, and
yeah.
it's weird because they're like regaining their legacy, whereas the
Mhm.
whole rock thing and speech is like turned into just cowards who have rolled over and died. It's like
Mhm.
rap or hip hop is finding its soul again, because it started
Mhm.
out as very community driven messages about things that were wrong that they saw.
Mhm.
And there's people within that who are saying, yeah, they're trying to push out a message, whereas
Yeah,
like rock, it's like, okay, you got dumb, fat rock stars who are happy.
right. Well, the rock thing is it's disappointing because that's what I grew up listening to, and so I understand, like, all my rock heroes, were liberal,
Right.
partying drug party guys that made influential music when it mattered and time to stand
Mhm.
up against the man, and I grew up admiring that stuff because I always thought to myself, like, "Oh, I'll never be that guy. I just wanna make nice music and, whatever." But I understand it now, why it's important to speak up through your music, and that's, like, the point I'm at with my music, but I'm at the same time, I'm seeing a parallel shift of all those guys are now, doing the uh, COVID, the vaccination only concerts, and they're segregating their audience, and it's just like, whoa, whoa, this is not what you guys were supposed to be about. You were supposed to, invite everybody in. That's what music's supposed to do. You're supposed to unite
Sure.
everybody, and now it's all of a sudden you've got these corporate guys breathing down your necks. You're talking about, like, how the system sort of wins. If you look at the difference between Woodstock in 69 and Woodstock 94 and what Lollapalooza is now, you've
Mhm.
got the hippies on stage, and it was raw, unorganized, and just
Mhm. A
a,
mess.
a mess. And then Woodstock 94, the corporations started kicking in. You got
Sure.
$5 bottles of water, and you get your t-shirt, and you go home and have a good time. Now Lollapalooza is set up, it's a whole corporate event, and you have these sponsors involved in everything. And it's the same thing incrementally with the bands themselves. I mean, look at Nirvana, and you see kids these days with a Nirvana shirt on, and they have
Sure.
no idea who they are. They got that shirt at Target. Speaking of Target and Nirvana, you can get Nirvana's Unplugged as a Target exclusive, like, in the store on vinyl, and that's a funny, ironic thing to me.
Or you can get sued for having the album cover. Oh, wait, sorry. That's another
Oh,
story.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. I've seen that one too.
Um, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm gonna say a lot of this too is being driven by fear, and again, they won. And I'm gonna give you I think, kind of a relevant analogy. Um, Alan Dershowitz is, like, literally a legendary lion of civil rights and taking hard cases, defending those who are so, scums of the earth, but they still need to be defended because of our system, right? Our laws. This is the same guy who believes in all of that, that is all for mandatory Fauci juice and demanding that, literally stated that, I have the constitutional right to make sure everybody on a plane with me has had Fauci juice.
Hmm.
This same guy, I mean, and believe me, he took on repulsive people, just the worst of the worst, all that. But you know what? He's in his 80s now, and he's very scared. And I think of, like, a lot of it because one, rock is aging badly.
Hmm.
I do think that rock is going to make a comeback, but for an unusual reason. And it's the platform that I both love and hate at the same time, YouTube.
Hmm.
But most of rock's people, I mean, they're old. Most of the acts are old. I mean, Tool, how old is Maynard? As old as
Hmm.
I am. Gen X. It's like rock is kind of a Gen X and prior thing.
Hmm.
Yes, there was some bleed over to the millennium, but I mean, wouldn't you agree with me that around the time that corporate radio got taken over and all songwriters came out of Sweden, that rock kind of started to spiral and die?
Hmm. Hmm. For sure. Did I? I'm sorry. Sometimes my computer
Yeah,
is
you were freezing up.
technical difficulty.
Of course.
This happens on our show, actually, on
Yeah.
my own show, on my own channel all the time. So,
Yeah, Weekends with Craig and Brad, by the way, for those who haven't checked it out yet, on 5 times August on YouTube. Everybody check that out.
yeah, hold
Um,
on. There we go. Let's see what happens. There we go.
there we go.
Yeah,
Cycle it out.
yeah.
Anyway,
Weekends with
so
Craig.
I'm saying that the rock influencers are old, and I think some of this is being driven by that same fear.
Yeah.
Like,
I just posted how it started, how it's going thing with Gene Simmons yesterday on Twitter, which was let me try to pull it up real quick because I found it completely ironic.
cool.
Gene Simmons of Kiss, the Unveed. I'm not worried if an idiot gets COVID and dies. And then just Simmons tests positive for CVID days after bandmate Paul Stanley as Kiss postpones. And all these guys are taking these extra measures, extra precautions, going out, still doing the shows, but then even though they're just like, they're trying to pretend like they care about the audience, but really they're trying to please whoever's in the upper echelon of who's making the money on these tours. And so they're kind of stuck, they're stuck in their brand and pleasing the investors, not really the fans. That's just a whole show to me, because to me, all these guys that are going out on the road, pretending like they care. Yeah. They pretending like they care about the audience. They're taking all these measurements. So if you cared about the audience, I don't think you'd usher them all into the same room together. You do an online concert and you just make the most of it for the time being because you care so much. That's my opinion.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's obviously hypocritical in every which way. And, it always was. Speaking of hypocrites, though, I guess we should pop up a news story.
Sure.
Piers Morgan. Piers is one of those individuals that he's kind of a prick, in all fairness. I don't dislike him. He's entertaining to watch, but I'm not going to say he's really a nice guy. He was under a lot of fire because he's very critical of, while we're talking about saints, we have Prince Harry and the amazing, you had the amazing Mrs. Maisel on Prime, but I guess you would say then we have the spectacular Ms. Markle. So, I mean, no, praise, man. Anyway, so he dared criticize. Exactly. And yes, Piers Morgan is a jerk, but at least it was a jerk sicking on other jerks. Turns out the whole kerfuffle where he got relieved or left or whatever with ITV, they have, and this is actually kind of spooky in of itself, something called Ofcom, and it is like their press regulation thing. But anyway, he was cleared by them, and they were saying, and I'm going to read, hopefully I don't mess it up. This is a finally balanced decision. Mr. Morgan's comments were potentially harmful and offensive to viewers. We recognize the strong public reaction to them, but we also took full account of freedom of expression. Okay, he actually they went deeper on it, but anyway, under our rules, broadcasters can include controversial opinions as part of legitimate debate on in the public interest, and the strong challenge to Mr. Morgan from other contributors provided important context for viewers. Yawn. Bottom line, he had a right to say, I don't believe her. I think she's full of it.
Yeah.
Especially when everybody was rolling out a red carpet and celebrating. I don't know if you watched any of the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and Oprah.
Yeah, I saw some of that. So those comments were from back in March, right?
Yeah.
It took this long, September, to conduct an investigation into his comment.
He wasn't on the channel. What's the rush?
Well, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like, what does that investigation entail that it took this long for you to release a statement? And what does it even matter at this point? Like,
we have staff to pay.
Yeah. We had to do some what do they call it? Viewer testing numbers and show the clip and have them take surveys and turn them in. And is that what the investigation entailed? Because usually if somebody says something, you're like, whoa, I don't know if you should say that. You just talk about it for a few minutes and you're like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Or no, that was fine. You can say that. And then it's over. But the TV station has to put in a full-on 6-month investigation into.
Well, keep in mind they're partially government funded,
Mhm.
so that's going to automatically have committees.
Yeah.
And keep in mind too that the government is the one institution, and it's probably universal. I'll speak of it here though, specifically, to
Mhm.
where you can do things like, oh, oops, I let everybody's names out who were investigated for clearances. So that was bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a department now. We're going to hire some more people, and we're going to conduct investigations internally and build new processes to make sure that it's all safe. So you see, the government's a great deal because if you have a blunder, you can give yourself a raise.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a nice job, isn't it?
It really is, man. And guess what? You and I will always pay
Yeah.
every time.
Mhm.
And it's let's just say required. I dare you not to.
I'm not gonna get you kicked off YouTube tonight.
No, you know what? You're lacking, man. Have I hit it yet? Nope. Still not yellow. So this may be one of those episodes, and that's almost doubly annoying where I finish it up, do the episode and everything, and then I go to bed, and the next morning I find out that it flipped yellow like an hour after or whatever.
Oh,
So the
sure.
way YouTube does it is it demonetizes it, and
Mhm.
then I put in for appeal,
Yeah.
and then it's like they wait long enough to where 95% of all views come across, and then they say, "Congratulations, we agree that the video is safe for all viewers."
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm supposed to celebrate
Yeah.
my Pyrrhic victory.
Oh, that's very nice of you, YouTube. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, overlords. Yeah, I do that every once a week on our show. I monetize the video, and then right after we're done, I have to, it's yellow already. But I
Eh,
haven't been playing the game with the words. I haven't been speaking in code on our show at all. And so that's probably why it happened so quickly. But even
well,
even
it doesn't
still,
really matter. Just
yeah,
just say I would say go ahead and put the or just put in the appeal. I mean, I do it in the middle of the show.
yeah,
So I mean, it's like 15 minutes in, and as soon as I see
mhm,
it, I'm like,
mhm,
appeal.
yeah,
And I've only had one not turned down.
mhm,
And I disagree with it, but what am I gonna do?
yeah,
Overlords.
yeah,
Speaking of which though,
mhm,
I know YouTube's trying to keep us safe. Good news.
yeah.
So is Facebook.
Oh, good, sweet Facebook.
I know
Facebook's
you're relieved to find out that they are going to de-emphasize content on Facebook. And this is going to be out. By the way, you'll notice I try to use like Axios and other things. I do not want to be accused of just saying, "Oh, look at this. He's
mhm,
pulling right-wing sources or whatever."
mhm,
I'm so consistent on this that when you look at the checkers, I think it's Ground News has one. I show up as 80% blue
mm,
because I will go out of my way. It's like if I find a narrative article, I will try to find, okay, you're saying this, so who would hate you? Let me get something from them.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I do that deliberately.
yeah.
But
It's good we
anyways,
have choices in
yeah,
in
there you go.
media, right? In reporting. I can get story A, or I can get version A of this story on this side and version B of this story on this side, and you just pull them together.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the way I work it. So what they're doing is, I guess they're giving away for users to dislike or hate, and they're going to filter based on this. Now, if they were universal, that I, actually no, I just don't mess with my timeline. There's part of me saying, well, as long as it's fair to everybody, I'm like, no.
mhm,
Anytime they create something, it's going to suck for everybody. So
mhm. Yeah,
never mind.
any implementation of more filtering of any kind, it's just gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, I have tried so many times to word things in a certain way to not get that dumb little banner they put on every single thing. And and you still get it. Even today, like I posted some pictures and they flagged a thing that I was going to share it, and it's like, are you sure you want to share your own thing? This thing mentions the thing that we're all talking about. Are you sure you want to share it? And I just like, yeah, more of this would be good. Like maybe we don't need now. Yeah, I've got a I don't know, I've got beef with Facebook for sure. For sure.
I got
No.
beef with all of them.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. For sure.
And then it's like, well, Facebook, and then of course we're like, oh, I hate Facebook on my Instagram. And I'm going,
yeah. Yeah, my plan, I had this whole plan, and my whole plan earlier this year was I was going to leave the social medias. Maybe we talked about this on your show before, but
Independence Day.
Yeah, I was going to leave all the social media sites on Independence Day, and or the major ones. And leading up to it, I signed up for a whole bunch of the other smaller ones that are starting to grow now. And now I'm on more, and my ultimate decision, and it was like, I'm just going to stay and be loud and obnoxious as I can until I get kicked off. And I think that should really just be everybody's attitude. Just don't care if you get kicked off, because there's a good chance you'll get kicked off. But just be loud and obnoxious about what you want to say and find creative ways to say it. I've thought so many times about going live on Facebook and having something pulled up on my computer that, I wouldn't want to upload it, but I might be like, hey guys, I'm on Facebook right now, and I'm just going to set my phone down here for a little bit, and then just let my phone, watch some sort of video up here, whatever I want to say. But I think that there's some creative ways to really get under their skin that I think would be fun to do. But
don't go full James Woods. Be a little more subtle.
What's James Woods do?
Oh, you don't follow James Woods?
I do follow James Woods, but he
just sticks his finger in their eyes. I mean, he's blatant.
Yeah,
he's like,
he is pretty blatant.
Screw you.
Yeah. Well, he was gone for a while, and then he came back.
Yeah, they kicked him and he's back. And I mean,
yeah, is that what happened? They kicked him off?
No, they have kicked him off before. Okay. He was suspended for a bit, and then he's been back. He's gotten to the point where he's almost considered, I think, the crazy uncle, to where they just leave him alone.
Yeah.
And
we should all be a crazy uncle at this point.
I know, it's weird though, because like I saw him trending the other day, and it's like, you go on Twitter, which is a cesspool, and it's funny because people are like, Twitter's the worst. I don't know. It's like, well, who are you following? I mean, I do think you can kind of control the cesspoolish nature of it. But if you click on trending, then that's where you get to see, you're like, oh, that's where all those morons are.
Right.
Yeah, okay, right. I get it. And you'll be like, they'll be talking about, in the same breath that James Wood is a closed-minded radical. I hope he dies. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What could be more closed-minded than wishing it? I mean, you see this, and I guess maybe this is why I'm older than you, but I'm just like, I cannot speak to somebody like that. I cannot reason beyond that kind of cognitive dissonance, to where you can talk about somebody's intolerance and meanwhile wish the most grave, awful, ill things on them clearly and loudly, when you're criticizing them for saying, I don't agree with what they're saying.
Right.
So it's like, their disagreement is hateful, but you're wishing the worst ills in the world is harmonious.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, that happened just today with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan posted videos.
Oh God, yes, he was talking about the horseworm medicine.
I got better, and then people are like, "You suck," and like, I hope you
should have fallen over. Yeah,
yeah. The whole "I hope you die" thing is it's literally insanity, because I don't talk to people that way. Like, who talks to people that way? And also, like, I don't look to engage with those people. Those people look to engage just to make a comment that nobody really ever, you have these people that they lurk on accounts that they don't follow just to comment, that make a comment that nobody will reply to in hopes of getting blocked.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
their whole mission
and
is,
then they hold it up as a badge and a screenshot. I'm like, and why do you block them? It's funny. Barnes did it, and I understand it on him because it was strategic apparently, but he blocked Nick Fuentes. He like made some disparaging things and then blocked him. I don't know that I agree with what he's doing, but I understand what he was doing. He considers Nick Fuentes as, shall we say, anti-Semitic and many, many other bad things. And he was deliberately trying to draw out people to say things to him. And then, and by blocking, that drew them out. And I got to separate. I got to find out what ratioing really was about because I had Barnes on that night, and I was like, "Oh, that's what brigading is." My chat was lit up. My comments were here. It's like, I'm used to my videos having that 95 to 90. I've always got people disliking. Hell, if I post a live stream, I've got one dislike immediately. That's mandatory. But I was like, wow. I actually am in the red. Like I have more dislikes than I have likes. This is different.
Yeah.
And they were brigading. It was like, okay, wow. And there's a term for them. There's something when I forgot what his army is named, but they call it something or another. But anyway, it was like the Groipas or whatever it was. And I was just completely attacked.
Yeah.
In general, I'm like, if you can't stand somebody, Twitter has something called mute. Just mute them.
Yeah. Out of the entire internet, these people zone in on this tiny thing to get pissed about, and then what they'll do to get, they'll retweet one of your tweets with their snide comment so their followers see it, and then everybody sort of piles on. That's what happens on Twitter, at least. That's what happened with me with the Eric Clapton thing. Was somebody had, with like 30,000 followers, was like, look at this guy over here, and then all of a sudden all their cronies start, they start getting mad at you for being alive.
And you're a blue check mark, by the way.
I'm a blue check mark, so I'm the worst. If I don't stick with the narrative,
in general, that's true. Most blue check marks are assholes.
Yeah. That's very true.
You're an exception.
Yeah,
you're an exception. I'll give you that.
I'm going against the man, is what I'm doing.
That's right.
But it can be a funny experience. It can also be a scary experience sometimes because they do go there rapidly fast with the cruelest, meanest comments and just wishing you straight up death. And you're like, are you human?
That escalated rather quickly.
Yeah, right.
You're like, I went from not inviting you to my birthday party to you're wishing death.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a drink with you, but really?
Yeah. Okay. If that's what's in your heart, buddy.
Okay. They're getting on me. I will try to get a response video for Tom McDonald's Brainwashed, and he did another one too. I'm 2 behind on Tom McDonald. I will try to do reactions. Well, as you know, I've done reactions on your stuff. I try to make it a point of not just saying I have not the largest personality in the world, so I can't ape for the camera very well. Or oh my,
that's great. You're doing great there.
No, I can't do that.
You make it.
Yeah, well, not gonna happen. So I kind of do a breakdown saying, okay, well, this is what they're talking about here, blah 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 blah. Yeah, so hopefully I can get that out there. And here we go. Need a response to Brad. Brad didn't do a video. He just did lyrics going across the screen. So I had to
go out of town for when I was going to plan to release the video. I didn't have time to make an actual video. I might go back and do one, like a real video, but we'll see.
All right. Well, if you do, or maybe I could talk Brad into doing a dual reaction again or something. But with that, it's like I love having some sort of visuals to do the reaction to because, well, people don't want to look at me that much.
Yeah, that was kind of a test because I've put a lot of effort into the last couple videos with finding the right footage and making sure they really said something. And with Silent War, I felt like maybe I'll just see how well the song can speak for itself. I didn't have time in the first place, but I was also like, well, I'll just do a straight up lyric video, and if I need to, I'll follow it up with something else. But it's hard being an independent dude having to do everything yourself all the time. I've been doing it forever, but yeah, I mean, there's the you got to figure out, do I go back and I keep focusing on this one, or do I just push on forward? I've got other songs to put out, and so I don't know. We'll see. But I'm happy to come
No,
back, talk about it
and, and that's cool. I mean, it's a good song and everything, but yeah, it's like I want to add, as much as I can. And
before a reaction video, you need a
something.
visual. Did you see that font size? Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's not much to react to.
Helvetica this time? Let's talk about Helvetica.
Yeah, which one is that? Let me go to What the Font and look this up and see what he chose here. Oh my gosh, it was a $29.99 commercial font license. Just talk about that.
No doubt. All right, Ziggy Shrug. There you go. Brad, the word speaks volumes. People need to read and hear them, which is awesome.
Thanks, Ziggy.
And I've seen comments too about people playing it on loop, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I love your stuff. I mean, for sure. And everybody, I'm working on it. And I will be honest that reaction videos probably give me the oh, here we go. Dummies is the other video. I don't get huge traction on it. It's a very crowded field, and it's a matter of time. And when I do it, please share with your friends, because my numbers are nowhere near in the whole reaction area. And yes, Tom McDonald is releasing 2 albums on Friday. Should be interesting. Let's go and close out with one more story. This one is kind of a wild story. UK judge orders right-wing extremists to read classic literature or face prison.
Okay.
Now, I love this story because it's ironic on many levels. I am all for classic literature. And if this was even 10 years ago, I'd be like, that's really interesting. What, a thought of like, okay, we're going to force him to increase his knowledge and maybe get influenced through literature and things that is going on. Where I'm laughing my ass off is that they're saying right-wing extremist. Right. And anymore, that might be that somebody's saying they voted for Bush. Which obviously is not. I notice I'm saying Bush, because if it's Trump, then that would mean that's taking him all the way to the, completely radical terrorist level. So, we've got to be reasonable here. But classic literature is something that's being attacked continuously by woke culture. So I'm sitting here thinking, how's this gonna, how does this reconcile? Because first off, what is a right-wing extremist? And it's very likely, or very possibly, like I don't know, somebody just doesn't like what's going on. It's in England, so maybe they like Tommy Robertson or Sargon of Akkad. And then you say classic literature. Now, fortunately, he saved himself slightly, Jane Austen, but I see that being problematic too. Because I think that Jane Austen wrote about gender roles that could be seen as a traditional pattern in the, what's that word? Patriarchy.
How could you?
And obviously classic literature has stemmed out of and not only embraced it, is actually created and emboldened white supremacy. So where do we go with it, Brad?
How does it solve that problem? They're just creating more of a monster, aren't they? He's
I
gonna go
know.
out there
He
and
might
be
read
more.
tickets.
He's gonna be even more extreme.
What if you read Huck Finn? Have you read
Oh
Huck
my
Finn?
gosh.
Oh my God! Yeah, thank God they've censored it. Oh, oh.
Does it say in that article what makes him a right wing extremist? Like,
They didn't go into details.
yeah,
No, I mean
he's
we
just.
just say these things, Brad. We
Mhm.
don't have to define it. We
Just
just
is.
say them,
Yeah,
and then we repeat it a few times, and then it's true.
yeah.
Everybody knows. Bradley, are you going
So
to make me question having you on? Like, I mean,
he's
come
just a straight white male, isn't he? Is that what it is?
possibly, but doesn't he have to be straight anymore? I mean, Dave Rubin is pretty hated.
There you go.
I mean, the protected classes, that's a sliding scale too. Goalposts, they've moved. Overton
Mhm.
window is somewhere. Well, I don't know. We don't need windows in this house.
Now, this is off topic, but I get distracted. I was watching other news with booze clips, and I was looking
Mhm.
at everybody's. You had one show where you had 4 windows up, and I was looking at everybody's things in the background. What do you
Oh,
have in your background
okay.
there?
Right now, and this changes out. I've got
Look at all that.
America Countercultures with P.T. Barnum next to it. Always good for spreading propaganda.
Uh-huh.
I change up on the top quite a bit, but right now it's Waiting for the Sun, which is kind of about the craziness in Hollywood. I've got a lot of conspiracy, rock and roll type of things going on.
Mhm.
This is Reading Body Language. It's on the other shelf. You don't always see it, but that's Scott Rouse of the Behavior Panel. Have had on multiple times.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, I'll have like the Ellipsis Manual, which is Chase Hughes of the Behavior Panel, and Extreme Privacy for hacking type of stuff.
Wow.
It's eclectic.
All right.
Got a globe. Um, this was for my birthday. It's a headphone rack with no headphones on it, 3D printed.
Cool.
Anyway, just
I don't mean to throw you off topic. I find that fascinating when you watch podcasts like this.
mm,
Sometimes, everybody's got something in the background, and
yeah,
it's
and I'm
always
trying to have it, varied, somewhat. I've got a globe on the top and a globe on the shelf. So
Mhm.
just and some of it is Easter eggs.
Mhm.
Like, a buddy of mine who did a book on how to tell somebody's line or chases a 6 minute. So I'll rotate. So like if the guest is on and I have their book, I'll try to put that up there too, or what have
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
So what do we have behind you, Bradley?
Oh gosh. Well, I change out my record every show. This is the
I've
latest
seen
record
that.
I got. There's the band Prefab Sprout. They were huge in the 80s and 90s across the. They're not really huge in America, but they're a great band.
Okay.
Um, then I got a whole bunch of toys from when I was a kid. Um, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, just a bunch of
Is that
nerdy stuff.
Leonardo?
What do we got back there? We've got Donatello. We got some Simpsons here. Ghostbusters. The great thing is that they're reissuing all of the things I had as a kid that I played with and broke. So now you
Oh,
can buy
cool.
them all again. So that's
And
kind of
not pay a
cool.
fortune.
Right. I don't have to pay for the original one. You can pay $15 and get a brand new one and pretend it's like a collector's item.
Yeah,
So
tape damage.
yeah.
James Esparza, the intro I played earlier, this is the guy who
Mhm.
created it. He goes by
Oh, cool.
Tape Damage on Locals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll actually be playing the outro here very soon. And he also created that. It's
Cool.
Locals is awesome. I mean, I should do a better job of it, but I do really love the community and having
Yeah.
people can speak freely.
Mm-hmm.
Again, let me plug myself again, but I love this show with Nate. I think it's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Or have you seen Jesse Lee Peterson?
No.
He's on YouTube. He's a black minister out of California, but
Mm-hmm.
he's He's a character.
Okay.
But he always goes, amazing. And so I can't think of the word amazing without amazing. And then it's like, he'll talk about me as beta. And he is borderline. It's like if you take like right-wing thoughts and then you add a little extra spice to it and maybe take it to a level, he's pretty he's pretty remarkable. To give you scope, he created White History Month.
All right.
And that is in July because he felt like July was a good time for white people. And yes, he's black.
Right.
So that gives you an idea. He's funny. I mean, it's like it's half trolling, I think, and half it's check him out sometime. You'll enjoy it.
Sounds up my alley.
But
sounds
on
good.
that note, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you. What can I pitch for you? Huh?
I don't know. I've got a lot of things going on. You can find me on 5timesaugust.com. You can follow me on all the social media websites at 5timesaugust. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I'm on Locals for sure. Which, by the way, Eric, thank you for supporting me on Locals. I've got a few of you, and by a few I mean I've got Eric and one other supporter. So it's great. We're growing. We're getting there. We're building it up.
I gave you 100% growth single-handedly.
That's right. Thank you so much. So there's Locals, there's Gab, Getter. I'm on all the things, and I try to, at least for the most important stuff, make sure they're all getting the same information, the most important information. But check out the music. It's all out there on iTunes, on Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, 5 Times August, and push it out there. I've been independent since 2001, since I was 18 years old, and it's been a crazy ride, but here we are.
I got to bring you on with Akira. You guys are my,
I've been meaning to reach out to him on Twitter because I have a project in mind, and I want to see if he's kind of interested in it. But
I bet he might be. If you listen to his latest stuff with Scott Adams, especially because he like slid in a folky edge on the Scott Adams Low Self-Esteem. I was like, and then he was sliding in Tom Hanks disease, and I was like, oh, look at you, mother.
That's funny. That's really funny.
All right, well,
cool.
On that note, thank you again to James Esparza, aka Tape Damage. We're going to play his outro.